Hey friends, welcome back to more Reddit stories about entitled people, crazy people, and everything in between. Hope you're all doing awesome today. Don't forget to subscribe for more, and as usual, let's get right into today's Reddit posts. Might have saved a woman and her daughter from a nasty encounter in the Australian mountains. This happened about 4 years ago. Some backstory. I'm from Australia and lived there during this event. At the time, my girlfriend, now wife, lived in another country but was visiting me over Christmas break. I lived in a big city which, if you drove about an hour in any direction, would either lead to another city or beautiful nature, in my opinion. My friends and I decided to take my girlfriend at the time to see some of this beautiful nature, and decide on a national park about an hour and a half from where we lived. This place is definitely no sort of secret location. It's very well known and there are a ton of different areas to it, all with different rural and windy roads taking you to different areas of the park. We'd gone in 2 different cars. My friends in one, me and my girlfriend in another, to have some time together. We finished out the day of hiking and were heading home down one of the less common roads. I remember seeing this really beat up old 70s sedan with a wild looking dude in the driver's seat drive past us in the other direction. This wasn't uncommon as there are a lot of smaller, less economically sound towns splattered around the area, but for some reason him and his car stood out, and my girlfriend noticed it as well. About 200 meters further down the very windy road, there was a pull-off area. Just a semicircle of gravel you could pull off to look at the view towards the ocean. There was a camper van belonging to a company that mostly rented out colorful vans to backpackers parked there, with a woman standing in front of it. As soon as she sees us, she jumps out onto the road and flags us down. She was quite obviously upset and scared when we pulled in. I told my girlfriend to wait in the car and I got out to speak to her. She was almost in tears. I can't remember where she was from, but it was a Central European country, from memory, touring around with her 4 or 5-year-old daughter. She told me her van had broken down, and she'd pulled off there and called the van's company assistance line and was waiting for help. By this time, my friends had pulled in behind us, and a couple of them had come over to see what was up. Apparently, a quote, scary man had driven past her a few times already, first time pulling over to offer to take her and her daughter to the nearest town for help. She thanked him and said no and that she was waiting for the assistance vehicle. He left, but then kept driving past every 10 to 15 minutes in opposite directions, slowing down and looking at them, then driving off. She begged us to stay with her while she waited for the assistance vehicle, because this guy terrified her and her daughter. I agreed. My friends, being the awesome people they are, decided me and my girlfriend were enough, and they ditched us. Thanks, guys. We stayed with the woman for a little while before the car my girlfriend and I had seen earlier drove past, kinda slow, coming the opposite way we'd seen him the first time. As soon as he'd driven around the bend, the lady told us that was the scary man that she'd been seeing before we got there. This got my girlfriend and I to take her much more seriously after the feeling we got from the guy just seeing him on the road. A few minutes later, he came back from the other direction and pulled into the parking area. Some more context, I am not an intimidating man. I'm tall-ish, but I have almost zero muscle and fairly soft features. So there's not at all intimidating me, a terrified foreign woman, her tiny daughter, my girlfriend, who doesn't look that intimidating but is tough as nails, parked off a quiet road in a rural location with a not-so-nice-looking dude pulling into where we were. Great. He gets out and is redneck as hell, and definitely not friendly-looking. No judgment on the redneck part. I come from a poor country town north of our city and those are my people, but hopefully that sets a picture. He strolls over to us. At this point, I walk towards him to put myself between the girls and him. I have no idea where this bravery came from. I would definitely not describe myself as a brave person normally. He looks at the girls and then me, and asks if he can help. I tell him no, we're just waiting for the assistance vehicle and tell him we've got it covered. He then says maybe he could stay and wait with the woman and her daughter so we don't have to. I tell him we're happy to stay and thank him, but again, we've got it covered. He kind of just stood there for a while staring at all of us, not really saying anything, giving off mega creepy vibes. After what seemed like forever, another car drove past us and looked out, but kept going. This seemed to startle him. He mumbled good luck and got in his car and drove off. We waited with this poor scared woman and her daughter for almost 90 minutes. Ended up talking a lot and hopefully we had made her opinions of Australians a little brighter after Mega Creep, who drove past us once more about 15 minutes after he'd left us. Finally, the assistance vehicle arrived, a bigger dude who could definitely handle himself. I asked to see his ID and stuff to be safe, but he was in a car marked by the company, had all his tools, and definitely seemed legit. We gave the lady my number and asked her to text me when she was off safe. She was so grateful to us for staying with her for such a long time. Made me feel good that even if this dude was just a weird-looking, awkward country guy that didn't mean harm and was really just trying to help, we had still made her feel more comfortable in a strange country. I don't think he was, and definitely believe he was up to no good, but you never know. I did get a message from her to say she was safe, so everything ended well. Weird woman barging into my house. The story happened when I was about 7 years old. I am now 28. I am female, so this happened 20-some years ago. A little information that's crucial to the story. I lived alone with my mother. We lived in a very woodsy mobile home that was far away from the main road or any neighbors. To get to our house at the time, you would have to turn off the main road, go across a set of train tracks, go half a mile up a dirt road, and then up a hill/driveway to get to my house. It was evening. I was sitting alone in the living room watching TV, as I always would. My mom was somewhere. I can't exactly remember where, but she was nowhere in sight for this event. I hear a knock on her door. I didn't really think. I was so young at the time. My mom always burned stranger danger in my head, but like so many other stories I've read, I was quite naive. So I sprinted behind me and peered out our big window. Standing on her front porch was a middle-aged woman. She was probably in her 40s, about 5'6" and brown hair. She also had a big bag in her hands. That's all I can remember about her. I don't even remember her name. She didn't look frightening in any way. So I pranced up to the door and opened it. The woman stood there smiling up at me, saying her name. She asked me if she could enter our home and talk to me for a bit. I hesitated a bit, remembering my mom's warning of strangers. So I told her that maybe I should ask my mom if that was okay first. Like an idiot, I left the door opened and left to find my mom. I walked through the kitchen and hallway calling for my mom. I couldn't find her, so I went back through the hallway to go tell the woman that I had thought it best for her to come back later. As I walked through the hallway and stepped through to the kitchen, I saw the woman coming at me. "What are you doing?" I asked the woman. I stood there behind our kitchen table, frozen. I was a little scared then. She proceeds to grab something from her bag. It was a book, the Holy Bible. She then asked if I knew Jesus. I told her I had. I was and am a Christian. I had a bad feeling in my stomach. Even though she had a Bible in her hand, I stayed frozen behind the table. She started telling me about a movie about hell, telling me about how the movie had a little girl my age in it, how she was taken to hell and tortured for her sins. I began to really panic and moved farther back around the table, feeling very uncomfortable now. She then asks me if I had been a bad girl. I managed to choke out a no and start screaming for my mom. She then said I didn't need to call for my mom, that she was only wanting to talk to me about this. I started walking around the table. I was trying to get to the other side as I would be able to escape towards my mother's room or outside if I had to. As I walked, she started to walk behind me, trying to follow me, rambling on about hell and how if I didn't repent I was going to go there. I continued screaming for my mother, getting really scared of this crazy religious woman. She then looked me in the eyes and told me I was being a bad girl, that I was to come with her and, I quote, experience hell firsthand. I then turned to run around the table to get away from this crazy woman. When I made it to my mom's bedroom door, she walked out sleepily. I stepped around my mother as she asked me what was wrong. I then pointed to the woman standing in our living room. My mom walked out and asked her what was she doing in our house. She then proceeded to ask my mom the same questions about the movie and stuff. My mom simply told her that we weren't interested and to leave our house now. She still tried to put the pressure on, but my mom firmly said leave now. So she walked to the door and proceeded to go back out. I know to a lot of you this doesn't seem too scary, but for 7-year-old me, I was terrified of the woman. When she left, I told my mom what had happened and how I never even invited the woman in. She comforted me, told me not to worry about it. I'll never forget this. I will always remember from that point on. I never opened the door for anyone I didn't know again. Girlfriend edged a breakup to see what it's like. My ex and I have separated. It's weird to say because I'm still confused about everything, but it's as simple as the title says. A week ago, we were at my place when something just changed in her demeanor. She walked over and simply states, "I'm leaving." I was confused and asked what she meant, and she said something along the lines of me knowing why. I'm confused because a minute ago we were just happy watching shows and BSing. Upon further pressing, she says that it just seems like the right thing or something. I get flustered and ask what is wrong, and she sits there silently staring at her phone and only speaking to give me updates about when a rider will arrive. I just stop pressing and sit down and just wait, because I can't even explain this. I'm not going to yell, scream, or cry. I've just felt the same burning hot feeling and difficulty breathing in my chest when my dog died. Like, this was it, and I have nothing to understand why it's happening. All of a sudden, she puts down the phone and exclaims that she changed her mind. I asked what that was about, and she giggles almost playfully and says she just wanted to edge a breakup. She gives me her answer, and I just end things there. She immediately regrets it, asking me to reconsider. The thing is, this happened before, early in our relationship, and she explained she has an impulsive habit of things. I've only seen this once, and it was when she ghosted me after just starting to date her. Maybe in her defense, she was on her period and was experiencing mood swings, but I sent her home and haven't spoken to her in a week, until now, to get my stuff. Am I going too far? She seemed distraught and hurt, and genuinely meant not to have wanted that. I want her back so badly, but I don't know if I can trust her yet. It's making me sick, and I miss them so much. Am I wrong? Can there be something salvaged? I know she genuinely loves me, but I'm scared that I'm just being abused. You know, we read a similar post a while back about someone's girlfriend pretending to have a medical emergency, and basically called her boyfriend acting like she couldn't breathe and had him rush over to her house. But it turns out she was just kidding and wanted to see how he would react in that kind of situation. And I feel the same way about that situation as I do with this one, in that these people seem to think it's okay as long as they say, "Oh, just kidding," right afterwards, and it's all good. They just wanted to see what would happen. But in reality, it's extremely manipulative. And it's honestly a good indication of the kind of things that they're willing to do, and it's a huge trust breaker. So it's totally up to OP whether or not they want to actually continue that relationship, but in the end, that's a huge red flag. It is pretty hilarious, though, that it just backfired on her immediately. You're gonna pretend to break up with me and then just laugh about it afterwards? Alright, see ya. Anyway guys, that's all for today. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to hit that like button and also subscribe if you haven't already. So take care and I'll see you next time.